The following item reflects a possible very worrying anti-Israel development by the Biden administration. According to this Haaretz article, the Biden administration leaked information to the Wall Street Journal that blames Israel for attacking Iranian ships. Obviously, if this is true, it is secret intelligence that is not meant to be publicized. Yet, allegedly, the Biden administration just leaked this secret intelligence information that now basically endangers Israel and the region. Again, if this is true, that the Biden administration leaked this secret intel, it is an extremely dangerous escalation by the Biden administration against Israel. While I would like to say it's not believable, yet it totally is, because it follows the numerous anti-Israel leaks by the Obama-Biden administration, like this one back in 2013, also about Israeli strikes on targets in Syria, an Iranian proxy. So, unfortunately, it is believable. Now, there are two levels to this disturbing development. Before I go into them, I just want to remind everyone that social media censorship is growing, and it is affecting our work as well and the ability for people to see our videos. The best way to support our work is to subscribe to our video newsletter at pulseofisrael.com and to share our videos. And if you are already a subscriber, then thank you. Okay, as I began to say, there are two levels to this disturbing development. One level is that this information was leaked, right? It basically endangers Israel and the region. However, the truly frightening level is that the leak might have been on purpose by the Biden administration, which endangers Israel and the region. So let's first go into the original Wall Street Journal article to read what they exposed. What was the leak? Here we go. Since late 2019, Israel has used weaponry, including water mines, to strike Iranian vessels or those carrying Iranian cargo as they navigate towards Syria in the Red Sea and other areas of the region. Iran has continued its oil trade with Syria, shipping millions of barrels and contravening U.S. sanctions against Iran and international sanctions against Syria. Some of the naval attacks also have targeted Iranian efforts to move other cargo, including weaponry, through the region, according to U.S. officials. Now, my comment, which U.S. officials? Well, the Wall Street Journal isn't telling us. But let's go back to the article. The attacks on the tankers carrying Iranian oil haven't been previously disclosed. Iranian officials have reported some of the attacks earlier and have said they suspect Israeli involvement. Right? Makes sense coming from Iran. Now, the article continues, Israel hasn't commented previously on such incidents, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office referred questions to the Israeli military, which declined to comment on any Israeli role in the attacks on the Iranian ships. Iranian officials at the country's United Nations mission didn't respond to a request for comment. U.S. officials provided tacit U.S. support during the Trump administration for such attacks, according to a person familiar with the matter. The two countries have had a long-standing intelligence-sharing relationship, and the U.S. has backed prior Israeli strikes in Syria. At the very least, there is no indication the U.S. would stand in Israel's way, analysts said. And as an analyst actually said, quote, as long as the Biden administration believes the Israelis are remaining below the threshold of major escalation or conflict, I don't think they are going to get in the way of things Israel feels it needs to do to protect itself, said Ilan Goldenberg, a senior fellow at the Center for New American Security in Washington, D.C. Right? Now, again, that was an analyst. Now, that was the Wall Street Journal. Now let's see how the Israeli Haaretz newspaper reported it. Quote, the report published by the Wall Street Journal on Thursday about Israel's operations targeting Iranian ships explains many of the developments that have taken place in the Middle East over the last 2 years. It also provides, belatedly, a glimpse of the economic war that has been going on for some time between Iran and Israel. It seems that the journal relied mainly on the Biden administration for its information, The leak may reflect U.S. dissatisfaction with Israel's operations against Iran as it attempts to renew negotiations with Iran over the return of the United States to the nuclear accord. The report should also encourage Israel to hold some serious discussions over the wisdom of its new policy. It's unclear to what extent the systematic harming of vessels causes real damage to Iran and Hezbollah, and a further question is whether it is leading to a heating up of tension in an area in which Israel is also vulnerable to sustaining significant damage, unquote from Haaretz newspaper reporting it. Again, the Wall Street Journal did not reveal its source. It just referred to the person as an official, as a U.S. official, and then later as familiar with the matter. So it does sound like it's someone in the administration. Now, whether the administration is responsible for the leak is unknown. However, a key way of judging behavior is looking at past behavior, and as I mentioned before, we do know that the Obama-Biden administration constantly leaked damaging intel about Israel, so it is not far-fetched to believe that this Biden-Harris administration would continue with that same activity. If true, this is bad news for the U.S.-Israel relationship. However, the good news is that yes, we in Israel survived 8 years of the Obama-Biden administration with intel leaks, and if this current leak was actually done by the Biden administration on purpose, then again, Israel will overcome and survive this Biden-Harris administration as well. And as an aside, it is important to note that the angle of Haaretz is not a pro-Israel angle. Haaretz is a very, very anti-Israel voice within Israel. It's an anti-Israel, anti-Netanyahu directive policy from the Haaretz newspaper. So we have to also look at the Haaretz reporting as potential tongue-in-cheek, but taking it into consideration.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.